Hi, Anna. Welcome to the Revitalized Womanhood podcast.
Hey, Gina, I'm so glad to see your face.
I know, isn't that funny? It's so fun to get to know people through social media, but then you're like, oh, we're actually almost seeing each other. Like we're seeing each other, but maybe I could like pretend hug you like through the screen here.
I know, and I love it because I found you on Blood Origins podcast. You were just on it.
Yep.
And Robbie has introduced me to so many powerhouse women that are outside of my industry and my bubble. And so I was like, I texted him, I was like, here's another one. I was like, Gina and I hit it off on social media. And so it was really cool to hear your story on there and just how you guys embrace like traveling and hauling your kids around. And there were so many things that we are like-minded on, even though we're kind of completely opposite.
Yeah, totally. I know he was laughing so hard, and I'm like, I really actually made this statement. I was out, we were glassing. It was the night before the hunt, and my husband took me glassing with him. It was the Penguich elk hunt, and so we were up in the hills, right? And we're sitting there, and it was just kind of funny for me because I was looking at what I was wearing. I'm looking at myself, I'm looking over, and I look at him, and he's all like hunter camoed out with his boots and his binos, and he just looks the part, right? And I look down, and I'm like, well, I've boldly gone where nothing from Nordstrom's has ever been before.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
Right? It's like that was a statement. And if that was not a perfect example of embracing the hunt life, even
Yes.
though I'm not a hunter, was just perfect.
I love that because you're not in the hunting world and you have no idea the soapbox that is in the hunting industry with women asking, what am I supposed to wear? So
Yeah.
I'm a wing shooter and everybody's asking me all the time, where did you find your clothes? Where are we supposed to wear to this hunt in this region or here? Or what do you pack for this? I'm like, whatever is comfortable and whatever keeps you warm or whatever keeps you cool. Like you just kind of have to make it up as you go along. And so you rocking Nordstrom out there is just part of my story. Like I get it. You just got to go in what you have,
Yeah,
what you can
absolutely.
find.
We just jumped like way ahead.
I
Will you
know.
please introduce yourself first? Introduce yourself introduce yourself to me too, because we've been chatting, but I don't know that much about you.
Yeah, like I
Introduce
don't even
yourself.
know if you've even looked at my page to even be like,
Yes, I have, because
do
I'm
I
like,
even
what's a
know anything
wing
about
shooter? What's a
um
wing shooter? I'm like,
wing shooter?
oh,
I know. I was like, I can't wait to talk to her. She's gonna be like blown away. Um, so I am Anna Van Nostrand. No one can spell or pronounce my last name, so we dropped it. So I Anna V Outdoors, and I am a wing shooter and sporting clay wing shooting instructor and a mom and a dog mom and just loving the life of the outdoors. Uh, I got started by accident. Was My oldest daughter was a big time horse show girl. She's 20. She'll be 21 in a couple months. And a friend of mine had these beautiful dogs. I was obsessed with the German short hair pointer years ago. It was almost 10 years ago, not quite. This will be my seventh hunting season coming up this fall. But I was like, okay, I want one of those dogs. I want one of those dogs. I want one of those dogs. At the time, I had only turkey hunted and deer hunted. I was given women pistol lessons at the time and hosting ladies hunts in the South just for deer and turkey at lodges. Like I wasn't guiding. I was just the party planner. And it was so much fun. But it all happened randomly with that too, with just my daughter's friends, parents asking me to teach their kids to shoot because we were all shooting and hunting, and then they wanted to come, and then they're like, well, we want to go on one of those hunting trips. And so that kind of morphed into that. And then the dog thing happened. I was obsessed with that German short hair pointer, and they were so beautiful, and they became really popular when a short hair won Westminster one year. And so a buddy of mine, we met at like our local like burger joint that I live in rural North Georgia. So it's like built in the 40s or something, where all the farmers hang out. He was like, listen, Tommy's having a litter of those puppies and we're all getting one and you need to get one too. And I'm like, oh, that's all I needed. Somebody tell me, yes, you need to get one, and we're all doing it. So I took the plunge, and a lot of people make this mistake getting their first dog, and it's an emotional thing, right? Like, this dog is beautiful and blah, so I got one. I had no idea what I was committing myself to. Holy smokes. Okay, so within dog breeds, and it's not necessarily the same. I mean, I'm sure it is with little puppies, but when you get to the big dogs, you become, you like inherit bigger problems, right? So I didn't realize that the genetics that I was getting within the breed that I was getting. So I got a dog with a big motor, needed a job, and I had no idea what she was built for, right? Like, I'm a horse showing every weekend with my oldest daughter, and we're hunting during hunting season when it fits in. So
Yeah.
this dog turns like 4 months old, and I'm like, what in the heck? Like, she's a demon, and she runs away, and she just runs big, and it's just wide open. I was like, I gotta find a trainer. If she doesn't have a purpose, she can't stay. Like, that's just it. She's got to have some manners. And so
Sometimes I think that about my 8-year-old.
So I got this recommendation. I had no idea. I was like, I just want the best one, right? Like, you don't know what you don't know. And that has been the absolute theme of my entire career. You don't know what you don't know. So I sent my dog off to this trainer, and the next thing I know, I'm competing, running dogs in a hunting competition. So it's planted birds. I'm having to shoot them. The dog's having to bring them back to me, and it's all timed. I am the worst wing shooter on the face of the planet, okay? Like, especially tournament hunting. And so I was like, I love this game, and I love this much fun with my dog, and I've never seen anything like this, and I want to be good. So my dog went off to training again, and I ended up working with Ducks Unlimited here in Georgia. And I said, y'all got to find me a wing shooting coach. I love everything about this. It was so much fun. So I'm telling you, like, here, I don't know nothing. I just know I'm having a good time doing it. And so I ended up getting this coach, all by recommendation. And I didn't know what I was committing to, but this is where everything that you do fell into my world. And I thought that I was getting an instructor to teach me how to shoot, but I got a coach that changed my life, all because of a crazy short-haired dog that is absolutely beautiful. My first lesson with him, I learned I was doing everything wrong. I had the wrong gun. All the fundamentals of shooting was all wrong, so I never would have ever reached success on my own with my setup. But he also required something else of me, not just to come and pull triggers, but I had to commit to a middle management program. And he was giving me a book, and I had to go home, and I had homework. And I was in a really nasty, just toxic marriage at that time, and I was miserable, and I had no idea that picking up a shotgun was going to transform my life, help me find my identity, renew my purpose, or give me a purpose. It was the wildest thing looking back now, because you don't realize the journey you're on when you're in it. And a lot of times you feel like you're doing everything you can just to stay above water. And it's not until you can stop and look back and think, holy smokes, number one, I was actually living the time of my life because I was a conqueror. I was building strength to become a conqueror. And so I shot with him. I just became addicted to the process of becoming my best self. And shooting sports is so much fun. And I say there's no better way of building confidence, especially for women, than shooting sports. No matter what you pick up. I mean, you could pick up a BB gun in the backyard and shoot cans if you live in the city. But no matter what type of shooting sports you're doing, pistols, rifle, there's just something about the independence of that I've never felt with anything else. And I've rode the wild horses, and I've traveled all over the country with the horse thing. And shooting and traveling with my dog is like the best life I think I could have ever had. And I don't know, maybe it wouldn't have been the same if Demas hadn't have coached me and really worked on myself. You know, we can get into all of those things in a second, but just talking about the dog world, with him, you know, conquering the middle management thing and shooting sporting clays, I shot with him 5 to 6 days a week for 2.5 years. And that threw me, kind of pulled me out of the dog world into shooting sporting clays. And I think it was like 14 months after my first lesson, I won state. And I was the only female in my class. And I was
That's amazing.
Well, this is boring. I was like, I'm going back to the dogs. The dogs are like so much fun, and there's so much luck and chance and
lots of
variables
energy
in it. Yeah, and it just makes you feel so alive. And then you have your little furry four-legged best friend, and it's
Yeah.
team effort and stuff. So, at that time I was traveling, hosting ladies events, doing hunts, doing shooting clinics, and really just kind of sharing what I had learned that far. Like, it was still intimidating at the time because I was new, but the industry was like, "Hey, we would like for you to come here or come to a banquet and this kind of thing." And so I think my first pheasant hunt in the Midwest, I was filming a TV show for the Outdoor Channel, and I had my own dogs on the ground, and they'd never been out there, and so I was like, "Oh my gosh, am I really qualified to be here? I guess so. They say I am, so I'm just gonna go and have fun, right?" Like,
I'm just gonna fake it till I make it.
well, it wasn't even like that. It was like, you don't know what you don't know. I
Yeah.
didn't claim to know anything. I was like, "Well, here we are. There's another adventure," and that was
But
the
I love that
life.
you said it, that they thought you were. It's like maybe you didn't really appreciate that you were in your own head, but they thought
No.
you were.
Oh,
So
no, no,
you're
no,
like,
no.
I'm going to believe you.
And
That,
that's the thing. That's the biggest thing about, yes, I can teach you to shoot and I can teach you to be successful and I can teach you how to run a dog. But out of all of the awards and the adventures that I've had, the biggest thing that I'm grateful for is that I finally, after all these miles, I mean, I was traveling 30 plus thousand miles a year doing this. I finally feel qualified to go and tell somebody I can help you, and I have a system, a process. I can help you find the best self and your confidence and run with it, because it took me forever because everything was new. And then I realized, oh, guess what? We never arrive. We never
yeah,
know it all. And I just
yeah.
finally became, I don't know, maybe it's our age. Maybe it's just our age. But I just accepted where I am, and that I would have given anything if a woman had been there to say, "You're going to experience things that a man in this industry is never going to experience." And I'm sure that's throughout all types of industries, right? But I never had a female mentor. And I didn't understand the value of that until I became one.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And I love that when you signed up with your coach, you were thinking, okay, this guy's going to teach me how to shoot. Sorry, if I get way Southern listening to you, like I pick up on accents. And it just happens. Everyone's going to be like, "Wow, Gina's all of a sudden from the South."
Come on down to Georgia.
Going down to Georgia, I was just with a room full of women. Sorry, side note. I was just with a room full of women from South Carolina, and I've never walked into so much color in my life. I was just like, "Wow, you ladies wear the fruit like it's doing good." They were so beautiful. They were so well put together, so
Oh,
beautiful. And
yeah.
I'm glad that I at least brought stuff that I would never wear here ever.
Yeah.
And I took it there to wear it, to be dressed up. And I'm like, well, thank goodness, because
Yeah,
I
South
would
Carolina
never
is a
have
whole
fit
nother
in there.
party. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, but for him he didn't just say, okay, shoot like this, the technical things, but he had to work on your mindset too. He
Mm-hmm.
had to work on, you have to believe in yourself. And that's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of what's going on here too, is I say there's a difference between self-confidence and confidence,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Oh, yeah, I just
confidence,
listened to this one at the gym. You're my
yeah.
my, um, treadmill buddy.
Yay,
Yes.
good. Yeah, oh yeah, that episode. Yeah, you can have confidence in something because you can do it over and over again. Then you can tell someone how to do it. You can do that. But until you truly believe something in you that is special and good and whatever, and you actually believe it and feel it, like what you said, like you
Mhm.
feel you finally hit that point where you're like, yeah, I got this. It wasn't just a confidence because you knew the steps, but it was a self-confidence because you trusted you and you
Right.
were proud of yourself and you knew you got this.
Oh, and y'all, it's so ugly to get to that point.
Yeah.
And people talk about this all the time. And there's so much out there that talks about, oh, self-confidence, self-confidence. What does that really look like? Well, you want to know what it looked like for me. It was dissecting every skeleton in my closet, accepting the ownership of why I either made that mistake, found myself there, felt these feelings, insecurities. I had to face all of that, because what happens in shooting on the top levels is everybody comes with the same skills, but it's the people with the strongest mental strength is the one that's going to win, because you've got to stay in the game, right? And so
Yeah.
listening to some of your guests, I loved the one that I listened to last night. that talked about, I think it was yours. I'm pretty sure it was one of yours, where we stay in our subconscious like 90% of the time.
Oh, Danya.
And I was like, oh, so maybe I had listened to yours and then gone to hers. This may be another.
No, she was
episode.
my guest. Danya
Yeah,
Douglas Hunt.
I found her
she was
through
my,
you.
oh,
Sure.
yeah, she's awesome.
And I don't know, but I was like, learning how the brain works and the longevity of how we have to stay in the zone as an athlete. How do you get there? Well, you can't have these doubts. And where does this all come from? Like, we all talk about, oh yeah, we have baggage, but nobody wants to talk about the nitty gritty of how we get all this junk in our bags that we tote along with us. And a lot of it is the environment that we were raised in. And this is where all this comes from. So I've been trained through the mental management program of Lanny Bassam, and that's what it's called, mental management. He also wrote a book called Parenting Champions. So not only have I gone through, I'm in the final stages of the highest level in my personal training with my coach right now, but I am raising champions. Like, my oldest daughter was number 1 in the nation riding at the age of 14 at 18 and under. I'm like, what do you do with this kid? I don't know. I'm just figuring out myself right now. That was the alignment of it. I'm going through my own drama, my own demons, trying to be my best self. And then I've got to parent a champion at the same time. And it's crazy how deep you'll dig and the price that you'll pay and the honesty that you'll get to when you know that everything that you're doing is going to affect your kid. Right? So yeah. I look back and I think, wow, God really has a sense of humor, throwing me in the deepest pits of having self-awareness and using her as my motivation to get there. And so now, like, she's a rock star and she's doing her own thing, and it's amazing to see that. But that book and that training is like, it's so simple. And then you read all this stuff and you're like, how did I not think about this on my own? Like, it's common sense, but we're so
stuck in our subconscious. We're stuck in our own
Well,
routines.
The subconscious is good if we change it. But yeah, like society and influences. I mean, we just allow that garbage in our life, which you don't. I mean, you're blazing your own trail. That's the message that I preach. But you don't know what you don't know. And if you're stuck like in small town USA, like where I'm from, like those South Carolina women, we have our own set of standards down here that the rest of the world don't even know about. It gets crazy because the social standards get really high and you forget purpose. You forget mission. You get so caught up in, like, every kid's got to be part of the right club and the right sports team and all this stuff. And I was like, pump the brakes. JC came home one day and said she was going to be a cheerleader. I said, Lord, no. Like, this is like third generation of the same high school. I'm not spending my Friday nights here. Like, you're going to be a cheerleader on the field without a mama because I'm going to be running my dog somewhere. But it was funny because she stuck it out with horses, and now she's actually in Wyoming for the summer, and she's wrangler out there for the summer. And she texted me today and she was like, Mom, I think I'm always going to be a horse show girl. I'm like, oh my God. I thought we'd outgrown this. I thought you were going to be a professional now. Last summer she was in D.C. working in the politics. She just finished her internship at the Georgia governor's office. And 2 days later, moved out west. And I'm like, you have this great career and you're going to throw it all away to be some barn bum.
Watch it. What's going to make her happy? And there it is right there. You just nailed it because she's living her best life and she feels it. She feels the difference. She did it. At least she went and did it. She tried it. She felt what it felt like to be there. And that's not her purpose. That's not going to use her gifts.
She's going to figure out how to, work the political world into the ag world. Well, that's her degree, is ag econ. So she's going to end up on a horse somewhere, protecting the farmers, doing something.
Good girl. But did you listen to the Natalie Kovarik episode?
I did.
Hers was
save that one. I saved it. So I'll listen to that one tonight.
Yeah.
So, just talking about, like, then you've got the parenting side, right? So this whole mental management program dropped in my lap. And there's an addiction that you find, and you know this because you built your career on it. It's endless motivation to help people be their best self and win in their life. And I just happened to be able to do it through shooting sports. And so, yeah, I mean, I've taken a lot of crazy turns. You know, COVID happened and our industry shut down. So the industry events and going to the lodges went away. But it took me back to a bucket list thing. And I loved running those tournaments because I ran tournaments, hunting tournaments, before I ever actually went bird hunting, which is so crazy. Like, that's like next level. You've got to be a superstar shooter. You got to be able to run your dog, and it's all timed, and you can't miss. And it's just wild. And so I was supposed to host an event. Like, this was 2 months before COVID up in Wisconsin. And I had just met the kennel owner in South Dakota at an event 3 weeks before. And he was like, I want you to host a ladies event. So, well, I can do it in 3 weeks. If it books, I'll come. If it doesn't, I won't. We'll plan it for next year. Well, it booked. And he was like, how do all these women know you? These are like real hunters and all stuff. I'm like, excuse me? Like, who do you think I am? You know, like,
I'm famous.
Like, oh my gosh, like what? So I was so excited because our community is so small, our little hunting community. Like, you know how small the hunting community is, but then you go to the wing shooting and it just like shrinks, right? So all of us were friends on social media and we're like, we can finally all get together and actually meet in person. It was going to be awesome. Oh my God, if a blizzard didn't come, 3 inches of ice out there. So I'm like, well, crap, I can't even go home. I'm like stuck here at this place with this stranger who doesn't think I'm qualified for like 10 days. And so, so I'm like force fetching dogs and all that stuff. I'm like, okay, well, not only can I shoot, like I can help you train your dogs too, you know, like put me to work. And, so it ended up being a really funny thing. He's like, I said, listen, I don't want to leave here. I'd only been to Wisconsin once, and I hosted a ladies hunt or a ladies training day. I'll tell you about that one too. That was like the eye opener for me of where I figured out what my calling was. Even though I ran from it, COVID let me run from it. And so back in Wisconsin, this was my second trip to Wisconsin, and I get snowed in, blizzard, ice. He says, okay, we're going to run a tournament at the end of the week. Why don't you just stay and do that? And I'm like, oh, I get to get back into the tournament life. And he's like, yeah. And this dog, you need to run this dog because she just won Worlds like 2 months ago. And so you can just run her. It'll be easy. And I'm like, heck yeah. I was like, crap, I did it again. Like, I'm always being like, yeah, it's going to be a good time. And then I'm like, I don't know anything about this. I ran pointers. So German short hair pointer. He was training labs. I don't know nothing about a flushing dog. I'd never watched a flushing dog work. Not in a tournament. I had just ran with a flushing dog in South Dakota 3 weeks before. That was when the aha moment came up about like learning about a whole new type of dog and like a different category within the bird dog world. So I had been such a snob too. With my German short hair pointers, we all say, if you know anybody that has one, they're completely obsessed with their dog. It's definitely a cult. So I had hashtag short hair snob, and it like kind of started taking off. And so it's like all this short hair snob. And I'm like, who wants a lab? They're just a generic dog, blah, 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 right? So I had been public about all this stuff. And
being this snob.
Oh, yeah, being this short hair snob. And it was like such a huge joke because in the dog world, you are so obsessed with your breed and stuff. It's kind of like being a fan of your best like football team or whatever, you know, like you have all your rivals. Well, in the dog world, your rival is a different breed. And it's just like fun. Yeah. So I'm like, crap, I'm up here. I don't know anything about running a flush or whatever. So they added me to the end of the list. So I got to watch all day long. I was like, okay, I got to learn this whistle sit thing because we whoa our dogs. They don't sit. And, you know, there was like all these different things. And then a pointer, you just let the dog run and it stops and goes on point for you to go and flush your bird and shoot it. Well, the flusher flushes, so you have to keep this dog within shooting range at all times. So you have to know how to handle a dog to keep it within, let's say, 15, 20 yards, depending on the weather. And, or the bird gets up and is too far and you can't hit it, right? So, oh my God, this is like crash course central. And the wind was insane. I don't know if I mean, have you been to Wisconsin? I'm sure it's probably similar where you are up north. Like lots
Oh
of
no,
snow.
I'm in the desert. So
Oh,
I'm
lots of
by
snow,
Vegas.
lots of wind, like crazy weather that this Georgia girl ain't never seen.
Yeah.
So I went out there and I took second. I have no idea how I happened. But what was so funny, I had all my quail hunting gear. And so I didn't know this either. Like they plant chuckers. So it was a bigger bird. So I didn't even have room to put the bird in my bag and the dog wasn't stopping. And so I'm like shoving
them down your pants.
Yes, I come out of the field and I've got like chucker feet in my face and I'm like, yeah, like we did it. And it was so much fun. I mean, to this day, I can remember the joy of coming on that field. It was freezing. It was like literally below zero with wind chill and like we do miserable like weather. The worse the weather, it seems like the better the bird hunting or something, you know? And so I just remember like, this is amazing. And from there, I ended up selling out to this certain organization called the BDC. And I ended up winning multiple world national titles. And I got to do that all through COVID. I bought a dog trailer. I started training dogs because it paid the way because it's very expensive. I homeschooled my youngest daughter. She went first, second, third, most of third grade, homeschooled. And we bird dogged. It's like rodeoing, but you're running dogs. And what it did, like it was so much fun and it was a bucket list thing, but everything that I learned through my coach, who I still talk to every single day, I shoot with him once a week. My daughter shoots with him once a week even now. I had to implement that strength and that because I'm traveling with a trailer and a dog, like, I don't know, anywhere between 8 to 12 dogs. And my kid all by myself all over the country and all kinds of weather, unknown places. And it is hard. Like it is hard. It's a fun adventure when you look at social media. You know, everybody's like, wow, you're in a different place. And I'm like, they have no idea how I've been sweating it or how like I just got approached in some shady situation at airing out dogs at some truck stop or, you know, like you just don't think about real life.
Yeah, because it's Instagram's highlight reels, you know? I mean, that's been my mission since I started Pure Imperfection to break that cycle of highlight reels, right? Before highlight reels were even a thing, before Instagram versus reality was even a thing, it's like, well, there's no such thing as Instagram versus reality if your Instagram is your reality. This is my reality, right? And it's still hard. I am very, very intentional about making sure that it's not just the highlight reels, and it's still hard. People still look at it like it's all pretty. It's all not, you know what I mean? So I get that. I totally get that. So how old's your little? Because I didn't know if you had 9. A little girl or a little boy. So she's 9.
Yeah.
So how'd she feel about all this moving around?
Oh my gosh. She loves it. If that kid could quit school tomorrow and throw birds and dummies and run dogs every day, that's what she'd do.
Aren't they resilient?
Yeah. And
they're amazing.
So much fun to share. So she is a little mini me. I mean, she plays the guitar too. Her guitar teacher plays for Hank Williams Jr. So let's see her. What is today? Monday. Saturday night, she had us backstage, Hank Williams Jr. Taterbug did. Awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. I'm rocking it out with my 9-year-old, and we had the best time.
I love that.
So yeah, I just think the kids are seeing us in real life. So
I was just gonna say your daughters are watching you come out of what you talked about before, that you were in a toxic relationship before. Come out of this, find yourself, like revitalized, right? You reinvented yourself. I had this whole big post about we don't lose ourselves in childbirth. We don't lose ourselves. We become a different person. I mean, honestly, you really do. Like I never would have believed it, but you do. You have to re-embrace a whole new body. You have to re-embrace a whole new mindset, a whole new, like, because the lady that you were is great, but the lessons you've learned from point A to point B to what you'll be learning to point C, that is the reward. That is the reward. Looking forward and getting to become that woman down there, that's the reward. And that's what I hope these women in my community, it's like that lady down there, you want to be her. Quit looking back at that one back there.
Right, and
because
you may not even know
she's
who that is.
no,
Like,
it's
I
a
had
totally
no
different
idea. If
person.
somebody would have told me this was my life
Yeah, you
and I
don't know. You
wasn't
just
even
got to
gonna
start
no, and I started it in my late 30s. Like, are you kidding me? I would
with
never
two
believe
kids.
them with 2 kids, single mom. Yeah, and it has been the most fun. I tell you, the hunting community has been the coolest people to raise my kids with. Like, Robbie knows both of my kids. He's so good to JC and has used her on stuff and just given her a voice. And the Ducks Unlimited crowd, the Quill Forever crowd, Pheasants Forever, SCI. Oh my gosh, like all of these organizations that protect and work for our conservation rights and all this stuff. Like, I couldn't imagine starting over and not giving my kid the gift of my friends.
The gift of your friends and the gift of getting to watch their mom pave the way for them and show them
Yeah.
what women can accomplish. They
And that
don't,
was never
I
my
mean, I'm sorry, I
goal.
hate to say we don't need a man, but I'm not saying
I
it
do.
that way. I
I don't
don't
want to
need
get
a
mine
man. But you don't. You are you. I mean,
Yeah.
even before you find that amazing partner, you
Yeah.
know, who is a partner, right?
Right.
He's not above you. You're a partner. But even before you find that amazing partner, you have to, like, the foundation of who you are should be firmly planted. That way you can find that amazing partner.
You're right. And that is the thing is like, I look back and I think, okay, how did I end up in this situation? Right. And you have to go back to your childhood and what was modeled for you, what was ingrained in you, what felt familiar. It's not what's right or what's wrong.
Yeah.
It's what were you raised in that feels familiar because that's what you're attracted to, whether it's what you want or what you don't want. And so you've got to deal with what feels familiar to make sure it aligns with what you want so that you don't attract the wrong things.
Yeah.
And so going through that, like, if I had not gone through all those hard times, I wouldn't have become the person that would attract the person that I want to be with.
Exactly.
You know, and so it's like when, I don't know, like, he will tell me, he's like, I don't know, maybe you don't really need me if you've got all your stuff and you're running here and all this stuff. And I'm like, I did all that. And honestly, when I was doing it by myself, I was never lonely. I was loving life. It was just so amazing
Fulfilling.
to feel, yes, to feel like, wow, I am doing this. Like I'm doing it. I'm not falling flat on my face. And it wasn't necessarily a business thing. It was conquering life. It was new adventures. It was, we can do hard things. Well, hard things for me was leaving small town USA in Georgia, traveling the country, speaking in front of people, making connections, feeling like things that I was doing was making a difference in a bigger world, that I was part of something bigger than me. And I was addicted to the mission-oriented self. Well, I had no idea that you could be an influencer in the outdoors or that you could be an instructor. I didn't know any of this existed. I was doing what made me feel good about me and what was making me proud to become me. And then one day I walked in, I was like, oh my gosh, I think I just missed a massive opportunity because I was actually building a brand and I didn't even know that I was because it wasn't a purpose. But then I realized that's the gift in all of this, is that the people that I attracted, my lifers that we talk about, they really saw my true intentions. They really saw my heart. They, you know, so
That's what I call the difference between community and an audience.
yes.
An audience watches you and they enjoy it. It's like the Kardashians. It's like, okay, I'm watching you. Cool. I mean, that show could be canceled tomorrow. I would care less. You know, not that I watch. I'm not saying I watch Kardashians, but I'm just saying.
You're telling on
I'm
yourself.
so into the Kardashians. No. If you go out of this country, especially Australia, they think the Americans are either the Kardashians or Trump.
Ooh.
That is exactly who they equate Americans with. It's like, really? There's a whole spectrum in between there. You know that, right? But anyway, so it's like I have people that, you know, they follow you, whatever, on social media. And they're your audience, and that's great. But when you find people who are like-minded, who are like your people, right? Mm-hmm. That's your community. They would actually care if you got canceled. They would actually care about you if something happened to you.
Well, I did get canceled. I got hacked and deleted and I lost my entire platform back in December.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm rebuilding. And that was the biggest heartbreak of knowing that I had all these cool experiences with people that the only way that I had to stay in touch with them was through Instagram. And it was just awful. I'll never forget. It was a Sunday morning, December 18th. Like, I woke up and it was just gone. Like, it was there and then it was gone. And there's nobody that's been able to help me. And it's
My
just
husband and I
sad.
actually talked about this because while we were traveling, you know, we've got 4 years worth of traveling around the world with our kids.
Yeah.
And it's like it happened to an influencer couple, very, very popular influence couple from England, I think. But anyway, cute little young couple, adorable, every picture. You just wanted to barf, but they were adorable. And they got hacked and it got held for ransom. Their account got held for ransom
me.
for like $40,000 or something. And Rick asked me, he came to me and he's like, what would you do? Like, this is a good opportunity for us to talk about this. What would you do? And I'm like, not care. Like, I don't care.
Right.
But then I started thinking about it and I'm like, that's because I don't care about the followers. I don't care about the likes. I don't care about that stuff. But I would care about the memories and the pictures and the things that I'd lose from it because who knows where they are.
The pictures you
the
probably
words,
still
the
have.
content, the feelings that you have that
That's
you
it.
write
It was
for
the
each
words
picture and
that you write in the moment. That when you reread them, it sparks like you were just there. And these were mostly experiences that I had with my kids, you know, and things. And so, or people that became mentors to me, or organizations that opened up so many doors for me to give me a future, you know, and it was devastating because of that. And I know my account's still there. Like, you can see it. You can see that it still exists. I can't use that name again, which was just Anna V Outdoors, and now I'm Anna V Outdoors _ And they've deleted all my content. But I would love to have my community back because people don't know how to find me now, you know? So, and so anyways, like doing things like this.
Just put out a want ad, right? That's how you do it. Back in the day, put out a single white female, little want ad.
Well, that's
looking for my community. Come back.
Oh my God. That's what motivated me to do my podcast. So I started All American Wing Shooting Podcast, and I was like, I've got to give back to the people that helped me along the way. They gave me a gift that I didn't even know what the value was at the time, because I just saw it as a new opportunity. And then I look back and I think, golly, geez, like, I owe so many people for this amazing life I have, right? And they were just doing it out of the kindness of their heart. That's just the way that the people that I've been surrounded by. And then when I started winning and I started doing all this, I realized it's like, holy smokes, like, my friends are the game changers, are the leaders of the industry. And to me, they've always just been my friends, you know? And it was just so cool to kind of get to a place where I could look back and I could really understand what I had. It's just super humbling. It's so humbling. And so now it's like, I just want to give back to all these people. I want to share the behind the scenes. I want people that are striving to be in the outdoors or are interested in the outdoors. Like, what does that really mean?
You need a Netflix series.
I do. Robbie needs to hook me up.
Netflix. Yoo-hoo.
It would be pretty interesting with me and my girls and all of our
I would love it. I would love it. We watch Duck Dynasty. It's so funny because we watch it because we can watch it with the whole family. You know what I mean? There's not very many things like that you can actually sit down. So the Penguich elk hunt, the cabin we stay at, every year, every October, that's one of the disc sets that's there. And the Great Outdoors.
Oh my God, I love it.
My 11-year-old, that's his favorite movie. And it's been his favorite movie since he was like 8. And it's so funny too, because it's funny you don't remember until you watch it and you're like, oh.
I know. It was like, we were watching Dirty Dancing at your age. Why would never let my kids do that? You know, it is really funny. Okay, so we do the same things. Taterbug and I watch Duck Dynasty all the time. But these are the other shows that have been super popular in our house. We've watched the entire series multiple times of Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh my God, really?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Like the old school Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh my God, yes. And every time we go to Nashville, we go to the museum.
That's awesome.
Okay, that one. And then Taterbug loved watching The Big Valley. We started from the very first episode. We watched the whole thing.
What is that?
That's like a old Western, like
Cute.
Gunsmoke. Like Tater's watched all those things, and then we watch a lot of like John Wayne.
Oh my heck. I need to get my boys haven't seen
McClintock.
Lonesome Dove yet.
McClintock is
I'm
Tater's
failing.
favorite one. That's her favorite
Which
movie.
one?
McClintock.
McClintock.
Mm-hmm. That's John Wayne. Yeah.
That's so cute.
Yeah, so I'm with you. Like, there's just not a lot. So we have talked about like, okay, we need a behind the scenes show of us filming the show. Like, what really happens, because you get this amazing hunt and you get all the country music singers playing their guitar and everybody's telling their story, but oh my gosh, like, it's a circus.
Behind the scenes of the behind the scenes.
And it is so much fun. Like, we have so much fun doing it, and we don't really get to show all the fun,
The filming of. I love it.
Yeah.
Do it. It'll be good. Yep, Robbie, there you go. There's your next. I told him he could come out. I told him when I do my first hunt, I'll give him a call and he can come out.
Well,
so I love that you're
me.
Yeah, I will definitely come out and go shooting. We were supposed to go. So actually my husband, we're friends with, and actually Greg was just on with Robbie. I don't know when that episode's going to come out, but from field to table, he was with Greg in Texas when my episode actually came out. And because my whole thing was, I talked about on that episode of Blood Origin, is men need to think about getting women involved in this. Like, it needs to not be a man's thing, which when I say that, a lot of my husband's friends were like, no, it is the man's thing. It is what we do. And I'm like, okay, I get, like, yeah.
You'll say that?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't have anybody that still says that.
Because we all hunt together for certain hunts, and the guys go on their own hunts, which is fine, and that's great. But when I was, my first husband, when we were dating, whatever, it was the guys' hunt. And so anyway, when I brought up the women need to start being involved and involve us, whatever, because even if I don't want to come and shoot the gun, the from field to table, I'm like, I want to do that.
Oh,
I want to learn how to cut it down.
Or not.
Oh, camp's the best. Camp is the best. I want to cut it down, but I want to learn how to cook it, because he'll bring me home stuff and I'm like, well, can you turn it into ground? Because I know what to do with that. Like hamburger it all, because I know what to do with that.
A Traeger and the Provider Life rubs for every wild game.
Everything I could possibly do.
I'll show you all this stuff. So I am so shocked that people still say that. So
that's what I mean. I want to get more women involved. I want to get more women talking about things. I want to get more women as part of it, and get the husbands on. Yeah, we're doing it. Let's do it. So having these retreats is awesome. I think that is so cool.
Right. Okay. So one of the first ones that I started that took me to Wisconsin for the first time happened at Pheasant Fest. So Pheasant Fest is the convention, the annual convention for Pheasants Forever and Quill Forever, and it travels around a few different cities. And there's a group called NAVDA. NAVDA is an organization that it gives you tests for you to run your dogs through. So there's a lot of people that get their dogs, right? And they love working with their dog. They love training their dog, or they send their dog to a trainer. They love running their dog. They want to showcase their dog's skills. So in breeding, us crazy, obsessive dog people are like, we want our dog to be like most perfect, right? So the American standard for conformation, their hunting ability, their on-and-off switch to how they live in the lifestyle at home with the family, and then they have their hunting skills, all this stuff. So NAVDA put this whole program together, and there's different levels that you can go through. And it's awesome. It is such a cool group for women, and there's a lot of ladies that run their dogs through that, and you don't have to shoot through that. You can just run your dog. So there was all these women at Pheasant Fest, and they're like, we want you to come and do a shooting lesson with us, because all of our dogs are trained so good, like they're perfect, but we don't know how to shoot. So we can't take them hunting because we're not going to hit the birds and they're going to get mad at us, So I was like, okay, that would be so fun. So we go to a trap club up in Wisconsin, right outside of Milwaukee. And I had like probably 12 women there. And I know this used to be like a trend, but this will never get old of identifying your why. It just never gets old. And your why changes, as you go through the journey of life. So that was really how I started everything, because at that point it was like, why am I even doing this? Well, I'm doing it because I want to feel alive. I want to feel appreciated and valued. And I want to bring something to the table where I help somebody else, because I didn't feel that in my home, right? I mean, I did with my girls, but being a parent, sometimes that feels like you're just giving and giving and giving and you're not receiving. And you've got to fill yourself up so that you have something to give, right? So I wanted to be my best self so that I could be the best mom.
Well, and my husband and I talked about this too, about it's like once you're firm, like I said, your foundation, which I have a philosophy where one is mindset, one self-confidence. Like those are your legs, those are your tree stumps that can give you the firm roots into standing firm, right? So if you have that, if you're not needing external validation, if you're not needing, I don't need my husband to constantly be telling me how beautiful I am for me to know I'm beautiful. Like I know I'm beautiful by myself. I don't, thank you. I love you for that, but I don't need that. And once you have that, it's crazy where you go with that, because then you can start helping other women. And once you start helping other women figure this stuff out, it's you've figured out your why. That's weird. You just said your why. I just posted that on my Instagram. I just posted.
Okay, well, I'll have to read it.
It's not my Instagram. I put it on our network, actually. I put, you women are my why. Thank you for that, because we just finished up our retreat. So I just had another retreat here. And I posted the picture of the whole group and I put, you women are my why. And that's exactly it. It's watching them do these things that one of them's terrified of open water, terrified. And we went out paddleboarding on Quail Lake, and she climbed onto someone else's. Yeah, she climbed onto someone else's. She was on the front, and for her to trust someone else to take her out, that takes some serious trust. Yeah. And B, to go out and embrace it. It's like that for me was, if I don't do another thing the rest of my life with this, right?
Well, there's so many layers as to what just happened, because the person that took her just became a mentor. They just built their own self-esteem on a different level, their self-image. I mean, when you break things down like that, there's so much that we take for granted that if people understood the building blocks, it would increase their self-image, increase their confidence, because they're like, I'm already doing it and I'm not even giving myself credit for it.
Ladies, increase how you view yourself, increase your sex life with your husband, because you are feeling confident. Sorry, that's me. That's annoying. You know what I mean? It's like a full circle. It is 100% a full circle. And if you can start with that, saying yes to something. I say start with just saying yes to something, because you don't know what that yes to that something will make you say. Open yes up to the next thing will make you say yes.
I'm living proof of that, because I had no idea. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know what the end goal was. I just knew I felt better. I loved life, and I wanted to keep doing it, and I was good at it. Like I just landed into something that I was like, man, I can't believe that I just found out that I'm good at this.
But it started because you wanted a dog.
And all because I wanted a dog, right? And
that's what I mean. Just say yes.
I sat at the table with those ladies, because I do a classroom session. I do a mental management session. Briefly tell my story, just so that people can relate. Like, people will see where you are. They don't think about once she was where I'm at, right? Like, let's go back to how this all started, because we can all be on the same playing field at one point of our time, right? Like we're all similar. And I always say there's nothing really special about my story. It's just I never said no. I just went, and I embraced the fact that I didn't know and that I was going to learn. And one thing that my family has taught me, like, we have a good time no matter what we're doing. Like if we're not going to have a good time doing work, well, I ain't working with you. Like if it has to be done, we're going to find a way to have fun at it. So I sat there with those women and I talked about, like, why are you here? Like, why do we devote our lives and spend so much time, so much money, traveling, commitment to the dog? Like, we're all here with short hairs. And why? Like, it's not the short hair cult. Like, what brings over here? And I make people talk. Some people, like, they don't want to talk. They don't want to open up. They don't want to share their feelings. And it got crazy. I was not prepared for this. I'm like, I'm just going to be your girlfriend and I'm just going to make sure you're safe. And
I'm
then
your hype girl.
it's going to take time for you to get good. I just want to give you realistic expectations and make sure you're safe. I didn't know that you're right, like that I become people's hype girl because I would be open about my own personal experiences and stuff. And so it came one, like tissues started getting passed around because people are talking about their home life and the dog world gave them a break. I'm like, I'm there. Like, I get that, and, or somebody went through a death and they lost their husband and they needed another purpose, or their kids left home. There's just all these personal reasons that have nothing to do with the outdoors, or that it was all emotional things of us finding our own identity and confidence within us and purpose. And it taught me so much because I'm like, the dogs is just what brings us together to get to enjoy this precious life together. It's not even about the dog.
That's what I say to my ladies is it's just like, go join a book club, go join a church club group, go join a shooting club, go anything that gives you a reason to surround yourself in a community of other like-minded people.
Right.
And it's almost like with this, it's almost like it's weird with your coach too. It's almost like it gives you permission to do something. It gives you permission to take action. You could have done it by yourself, but you probably wouldn't have. Like, honestly, you getting that coach was like you giving yourself permission to kick yourself in the pants and get to it, right? So it's like, imagine these basketball teams, football teams, they have cheerleaders, right? I mean, granted, they're not like really the coach and, but they're cheering them on. They're cheering them on, right? And the crowd's cheering them on and cheering them on. And so that's what this community becomes. Imagine you're this one player doing your thing, and this community becomes this whole group of cheerleaders cheering you on, and you're like, I'm not going to let them down. I'm not going to let myself down if they believe in me. But I had one of my members say, it was really interesting when she first started, and I met her, and I like to say I have a magic mirror, and I'm going to hold it up to their face, and someday they'll be able to see what I see, and that's my magic mirror. And I said, you're going to be a leader. You're going to be a leader in this community. And she's like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, you are. Just so you know, you're going to be a leader. And she's like, she said it took her thinking to herself, well, if she sees it, it must be there. Like you said, if they invited me, I must be it. And she said, then I started kind of settling into it. And I'm like, your definition of what a leader needs to be is wrong. Right. You're thinking of it as something totally different. This is the definition of a leader. You want everybody you're leading to succeed. No matter what it looks like to you, your name's never going to be mentioned, but these people will succeed because of you.
Yes. Okay. So I have come into this space, fighting against the grain. I'm a mom to girls. So my image, my standards are super high. And I believe in doing things the right way and being qualified because of my skills, not my looks or my, let's say, actions after hours, right? Which happens a lot in our industry. And, the TNA sells. And it does not move the needle. And I am like sick and tired of that being not just accepted, but celebrated, right? So I'm talking like 20 minutes before we started. I get this phone call. I was supposed to have a photo shoot on Wednesday with an AR company. I'm not an AR girl, but I have one. And I just like rocked it hog hunting in Louisiana about a month ago with an AR. And I'm like completely competent in shooting a rifle that is like a 233 or whatever round it was. Like an AR could be the same caliber as a rifle that's made of wood. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just a different.
Yeah, you're speaking Japanese. It's great.
I know. I see it on your face. So I'm like trying to.
I know they exist.
So anyways,
those words are words.
So the photographer that I work with, he was like, "You're gonna be perfect." They wanted a variation of women to promote. So you're the blonde girl, we've got the brunette girl kind of thing. It's like, okay, done. Like, so I texted him today. I was like, okay, what's the deal for Wednesday? Where are we going to meet? And he was like, well, I hate to break it to you, but they said that you look too clean. And I forgot what the other word was.
I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you.
I was like, okay, so you're saying that I'm classy, and so therefore I don't fit the image.
You're the all-American girl.
I'm like, thank you. And he said, I told them that you were the only female in my entire book that actually had the knowledge and was believable. And they X'd me. And it was all because
of the TNA.
Probably. Yeah. And so if you go to gun shows and you see that, I call it the black gun world.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and they act like nobody else shoots those. But they do. Like, all kinds of girls that are way more preppy than me with their Louis Vuitton purses still like to shoot an AR. They're fun. It's a great target gun. There's not a lot of recoil. You don't typically shoot moving targets with it. It's way easier target shooting with that than the world that I'm in. So they literally just insulted me. And I'm like, holy moly, like, do they not know that this is like a bonus? That I didn't like up the price because I have a whole nother market to advertise to. If you're a gun person, you're just a gun person. You know, it's not like we're only going to shoot one type of gun because it's not like the dog snob thing. This is like, if you're a shooter, you're a shooter, you know, like I couldn't believe it. I'm still so fired up about it. I'm like, oh yeah, gosh, like let's make real
bite. It's going to bite them, but then you just.
But you're talking about leadership. Leadership. Yeah. We're lacking leadership. Our pastor preached about that on Sunday.
Like, look at it. Look at marketing. What's marketing right now? Who's getting the sponsorships?
TNA.
Who's
getting, I know all about
not
it.
Even that. I mean, not even that. It's like these women who are strong women are being told not to be strong. These men who want to be women are being celebrated. And, you know, but I mean, society, the marketing is wrong because they are trying to destroy the American values. They're trying to destroy the nuclear family. They're trying to make it so that the next generation can't defend themselves. The next generation can't lead themselves. You know, how many kids now, it's like they have anxiety. Well, tell them to go out in the hills and find lizards. Tell them to go jump in the ponds and catch salamanders. How many will? I know people look at us like we're crazy. We go play in the cow ponds and catch salamanders, you know?
Right.
And it's like my husband, I was in my retreat and he's sending me videos of my boys catching whatever they were catching in the ponds. It was probably the horse poop and pee runoff of the water that's running. Who knows? And my 2-year-old's in it. They're all in it, playing in it, you know? And it's, who would do that? He's in his outfit that I picked out. My husband throws him right in the mud. And I'm like, you know, even I cringe at it still. I'm like, ugh, you know, it's fine.
Well, if you're listening to this, and I know you talk about the outdoors all the time because that is your lifestyle. But if you've ever thought, I am not tough enough to shoot or I'm not outdoorsy enough. I mean, I've just never seen more accessories. I'm talking endless accessories in the wing shooting world. And we wear fancy clothes. Sometimes we wear, like, I have a hat line with Greeley Hat Works. I love to dress up and get fancy. All of my, like, fancy hunting clothes
I want
are in
all
ruffles.
The details for that.
And, yes, and tailored coats. And, I mean, I love it. But at the same time, like, if I'm going to be dog training or whatever, like, maybe I just wear gym clothes or, you know, my Dickies pants or something like that. Like, I just don't want people that don't understand really what we're talking about, but yet they are intrigued by the empowerment to feel like that they won't have a place. Because they will. And it's amazing. Like this year we went to SCI convention, which Robbie's very involved with SCI too. And that's Safari Club International. But it's not just about African safari. Safari is like the word for adventure. And they support hunters all over the world and conservation. And it's a really huge honor that I get to kind of trailblaze the wing shooting part with them because they mainly have been big game hunters. Or that's been their like big percentage of their membership.
Right.
But this last year, the theme of convention, they moved down south to Nashville for the first time, was women go hunting. And it was the first time in 50 years that they had a female only like mingle. So they've always had like a ladies' very formal fundraising luncheon. But this was the first time to say, women hunters come here and meet other hunters. And what was so
That's cool.
cool, yeah, this organization is made up of all different types of hunters. So all the other organizations that I've been involved with are women just like me, right? So I've been so inspired by all these women that just, I mean, they just go all over the world with their husbands and they just do things that I think, holy smokes, like I would never do that. And they look at me and they're like, I would never do what you did, you know, and then we share these stories and just be empowered by each other. And there was something super special about being with women because I'm always with the guys. And I've always been with the guys and I was raised that way and I'm super comfortable with that. But this was the first year that I said, wow, like this is powerful. This is a movement of women feeling empowered to be women, to celebrate their husbands, to celebrate doing things as a couple, and not just this, women are number one and we can do whatever we want. This was like wholesome values and old school standards and, you know, successful women, very successful women in that organization. And I was like, this is what I've been searching for. This is the group of women that I want to help me become who I want to be. Now that I finally have kind of a picture of what that looks like, you know.
Yeah. It's
So that was just
femininity.
so special to find that. And so for women that are looking, that are like, I don't even know where to start. Oh my gosh, just message me. I will help you
I'll
find
put
your
it right
people.
here on the episode. Just message me.
Yeah.
Well, it's our femininity. It's our femininity that society's trying to destroy, and that's the whole point of revitalized womanhood. It's revitalizing the concept of what womanhood is, and it doesn't mean you're just June Cleaver dressed up.
No.
June Cleaver, maybe June liked to go hunt on the weekends, right?
Yeah.
Maybe she did, and that's great. And maybe she liked to wear her pearls in her pretty dress all week long, but then she'd like to go hunt. And apparently she could wear
I do
something
that.
pretty close to the same thing hunting.
Yeah, I might be in my pearls out in the field.
I was in my
I'm gonna wear
Uggs
my
out in the
diamonds.
hills. Yeah, I'm wearing my diamonds. I'm gonna have my big studs on with my Carhartt. No, but that's what I mean. It's redefining and it's letting your femininity out, because that's what is your purpose, is your gifts that make you this amazing, creative, beautiful person. It doesn't matter if you're in the boys' world or in the men's world or in the whatever of athletes or whatever. You are what makes it special. And when you get a group of us together, it's like unstoppable.
Yeah.
It's incredibly unstoppable. The amazing like vibe that just goes through there is so powerful. And I think that is, honestly, this is not even a conspiracy theory. You guys, I'm not a man hater. I love it. But I think men are scared of that. Like, I think they're like intimidated and they don't know what to do with us. That's a better way of saying it. They're not scared of us, but they don't know what to do with it because it's such a force. It is such a force. Women can change the world.
Well, I think if men were raised to be men, then it wouldn't be that big of a deal. And you know, this is another thing. I love this conversation about women being in their
femininity.
I just like added one or didn't have one. Because when we are put into that heightened place of fight or flight mode, right? When we are in survival mode, we cannot be successful in that because we get stuck in our masculine.
Yep, you can't be in your feminine.
And we are not attracting the right people in that state. We are not becoming our best self in that state. And you get stuck there in survival mode and you have no idea how to come out until strong women come by, hold your hand, and bring you back to reality and help you remember who you were so that you can build your best self. And so I'm just like so grateful. Like I did the hard things. I dug deep. I faced all the things that you just want to forget. But until you fix them, you're never going to go away.
Until you acknowledge them and set them free. Oh, yeah. Hang on. Got to tickle.
That is true. Like set them free. Like
set them free.
Part of your
them
journey.
Inside.
Yeah, it's part of your journey. And so I have a really close girlfriend here at home. And if I had not gone through all these hard things, like I wouldn't have the testimony I have to help other women that may get stuck, you know? And so it's like we have to be honest with ourselves to become our best self.
We were just talking about this I was talking to, I just had my leader call before this, and we were talking about, it's interesting, which it's hard for me, but it's interesting. And they were talking about, we need to be the ones that are saying these things. We need to be the ones talking about the sisterhood. We need to be the ones that are sending this message, because when it comes from me, they said it might sound icky. Like it might sound like I've got ulterior motives. I want you to be part of this community because you're paying me. I want you to be part of this community because it builds me up. I want, you know what I mean? Which it's not. And the women that know me know that that's not how it is. They feel my genuinity. You know, is that a word? Did I just make up a word? Copyright. No, they know me and they feel me. But they said, it was interesting. They said, let us take this on for you, because it's going to sound better coming from us. And we know how powerful it is, and we know how special it is. Because I kept saying after this retreat, here's my question. How do you, and you know this too, because you've had these retreats, you have these women, how do you express the emotion of what it feels like to have that kind of support, that kind of trust, that kind of, you know what I mean? That feeling. How do you turn that into words and explain it to someone who has no idea what you're talking about? And I'm like, well, I do it every day. I try my best, but you can't until you actually experience it. I should start give me 30 days for free. I should start a new thing, because honestly, if women would just get out of their own way for any community, I say this all the time, it might not be me. I might not be your cup of tea. Yeah. It might be whatever community, right? A shooting community, a church group, whatever. Get out of your own way and just take that step, take that action. Because we all know all this information is useless if you're not doing something with it. So take action, make that first step, say yes to something, and give it a try. And if you hate it, try something else. Right? It's like you said, you tried this first, and then that led to this, and then that led to this. And I've got the same kind of story. I tried this first, and that didn't. It was becoming a makeup artist, you know, like that wasn't the help. I need some help. No, that I know. Don't look at me like I just got done having a retreat all weekend. This is like, I'm so burned out, but no, that wasn't my community, but that didn't stop me from searching for my community.
Well, it was a stepping stone.
It was a stepping stone. That was my first yes, and I contribute this whole thing to that yes, because that was my first yes that was an actual for me, just for me, after COVID, a new baby, postpartum depression, trauma, emergency C-section. You know what I mean? That was the absolutely first big yes for me. And after that, it was downhill from there.
Well, and that's the whole thing, is like, I just want a platform to share my story, to motivate somebody else to go build theirs.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel you. I see you.
Yeah.
You're seen.
And it's been so fun. Like, I would do it all over again. And all the tears, Lord have mercy. Like, I've talked about how great and fun it was. And I accomplished bucket list things that I never really thought that I could do or be celebrated doing it, you know, and have that community to cheer you along. I just never thought I would have that. But it wasn't all that. I mean, it was so hard. It was so hard. And I look back and I think, how did I get away with having a little kid? Like, Taterbug was 63 when I started shooting. How did I get to go shoot every single day and give lessons at the shooting course? Like, there were some days I just had that baby with me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just nuts, the things that I've drugged that kid to do, you know? And so for her, our lifestyle is normal because it's all she knows. But I'm like, how did I get away with that? Taking a baby, like, I'm already a woman in a man's world, but I took a kid with me.
It's because you just did it.
Yeah.
People are so scared. They're like, oh, this is going to be weird. Or, oh, it's, you know, maybe this isn't okay. And it's like, no, this is me. This is okay. If you want me, this is what you get. That's like us traveling around the world with our kids. Oh,
Yeah.
that's weird. We don't travel with kids. Traveling with kids is hard. It's like, no, it's not. Guess what? Well, they won't have the memories from this. We will.
Oh,
It's
those memories are so special. Like when I first started in the very beginning before I got my coach and I was shooting those hunting tournaments down south, I joined this club and I was the only female running in Georgia. And so we'd have different clubs where we would show up at different, like one Saturday a month or something, we would run a tournament. And so for like your time in the field maxed out at 15 minutes if you didn't get your 3 birds before then. So here I was with a kid and pull-ups and a slimy snack and, and a tub full of John Deere tractors. And I'm like having to say, you never knew because of the way that you run. It's just kind of drawn out of a hat, the order. So I didn't know if I would actually know somebody in the gallery or what. But when I went, like I didn't have a babysitter with me. I just handed my kid to somebody there. I'm like, okay, here she is. Just make sure she's here when I get back. 15 minutes or less. And I'm like, here she is. And so I have all these pictures of Taterbug, like with strangers.
I love that so much. And that's what I mean. It's like you trusted this to be an okay thing. You're not overthinking it. You're not like, oh, are you with, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You're
like,
around people that are
Yeah.
your people. They're
Yeah.
safe. They're fun. They're thinking like you. Honestly, I probably would have been the person like, I got her. Give her here. And you
Yeah.
probably had a lot of those. Like,
Oh, yeah, because
I got
it
you.
was all grandpas. Like Tater feels like she has
Oh.
uncles and grandpas everywhere.
Adorable.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, in the time, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, this is just the way that it is because there's no way around it. So you just embrace it. And I mean, I love all these guys because they let me be me or they let me figure me out. Now, I'm sure they made so much fun of me and they just talked so much behind my back about what a, I don't know, circus I was because I really was. I was terrible. My dog took advantage of me all the time in the field. And sometimes I'd tell her to do something. She'd do the absolute opposite. I mean, we looked like a train wreck. But I loved it so much. And I was like, if I don't give up, I'm going to figure this out. And I did. And now I've got all these cool trophies. Like, I love winning trophies. I love it. I mean, I should care about the money spent to get those trophies. But I just absolutely love driving back like 4 or 5 states away with my trophy in the passenger seat and my kid.
Hanging out the window.
Yes. And we're just cranking
It's
up
like the
our
rack coming out the back of the truck.
Hank Williams
when you
Jr.
see-
Yeah, I mean, it's just like living like rednecks and is just so much fun, not a care in the world. And
Well, you
that,
said that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I mean, that's my kids' memories. Like, we were either horse showing doing that or mom was running dogs and we're supporting mom. It is.
You
just
said this
so
about
fun.
these guys probably talking about you and everything. And I want to tell you right now, I probably know for a fact they were all thinking, she's amazing. She's
No, they
amazing.
wouldn't say bad things.
You know what I mean? No, but I
yeah.
mean, I think they were all thinking that you were doing it, showing up, making sure you had everything you needed. They were probably like, holy cow. Because a man would show up with the kid and just, they wouldn't have the toys. They wouldn't have the diaper bag. They wouldn't have the treats,
Yeah.
whatever. And so they were probably in awe of you and thought, holy cow, that probably boosted your points.
Well, I just know I did it and I had a heck of a time doing it. And it was hard. So I'm like, there's nothing that you can't conquer.
Yeah.
If you want
we
to
can
do
do
it,
hard.
and you can find your support. Like they're out there. You just got to keep trying. You just can't give up. And I mean, I'm facing all kinds of new things right now. So I'm in a bit of a transition, but I finally got to the point where it's not scary. I mean, you have your like week where you're like, holy crap, how are we going to pay the bills? How are we going to do this? This is such a risk, but it's not because of my industry. It's life. And
Yeah,
the
look at
people that
COVID.
have that 9 to 5, like it's actually, not as secure as you really think because you never know when you're going to come in because you've given put your future in the hands of someone else.
But not even that. What's the life you're living? You get to your deathbed and say, what the hell did I just spend my time on?
Yeah.
What did I just waste my life on?
Yeah. So I don't know. We're just gonna do it until we can't. That's just
Okay.
what we're gonna
So the theme for this show is
do. Blaze your own trail.
for this show is, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Blaze your trail.
Is stop trying to define what supposed to be looks like.
Yeah.
Because there's no definition.
No, there's not. And I resonated with everything that you guys talked about on Robbie's podcast. And I don't really even know why I was like so drawn to it. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing today, but I'm going to listen to this podcast today. And I remember messaging Robbie saying, I can't wait for this one. And maybe it was just the title. Like maybe it was just Revitalize Women and your group. And it's just so heavy on my heart to give that back to our industry right now, because I do finally have that place. And I'm like, God, I've got to go tell people don't wait. Like I shouldn't have waited. And here, this is a huge mistake. Even though I'm finally ready to go and lead women, I could have been ready 2 years ago. You know,
oh my gosh. You nailed it. I just said this to a girl. I was sitting next to her at a luncheon. We went to a women in business luncheon here in town. And she says, she's 44. And she says, when I turn 50, I'm going to create a line of outdoor gear for special needs kids to get them outdoors, like rappelling and hiking and that kind of thing. And I said, why are you going to wait till you're 50? And she says, that'll just be a time when X, Y, and Z will work out. And I said, how many little kids are not going to get outdoors because you waited 6 years? And
she doesn't know what's going to happen between now and then.
She's like, you're a dick. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I am, because that's the point. Like, who are you missing? And I think that to myself, it's like, I can wait until I'm all done up to record a podcast episode and wait till it's perfect and looks great to send it out there. But who am I missing in the meantime? Maybe there's that woman out there that has been needing community. Like she's ready to go off the deep end. And maybe we could have pulled her back. And I know that's not my responsibility.
But it's your calling.
It's my calling. It is my calling.
I love it. I feel so honored to have been given this opportunity in life, because I never would have said, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to be a wing shooting instructor and inspire women in the outdoors. I mean, who comes up with that, right? Like, it's a God-called purpose that I feel like I can't do anything else.
It's so interesting that you just said that. Do you know one of the questions I wrote down while we've been talking is, could you have even pinpointed that you didn't have a dream before? Like back before you got your coach, back even when you were in your toxic relationship, like that's where women are. That's where so many women are, so many that need these communities, that need people like you giving them permission to dream bigger. Like I have a free email series on my webpage. The first homepage you come to, it's the 4 weeks to a fresh start. And it's like a baby step journey, 30-day journey that baby steps you into creating 90-day goals, right, to your dream life. Like, what does your dream life look like? And women can't even define it. They can't even say what it is. I'm like, no, I'm like your fairy godmother. Like, boom, you can have anything you want, like, what is it? And they don't dare to ask. They don't dare to dream. And also, I don't even necessarily know that it's a dare, but don't know. Like, why would I dream about being a wing shooter, famous wing shooter? Because I got kids at home. I got to do this. I got to cook dinner. I got to clean the house. Well, that doesn't mean...
My house is lived in, and the dogs are on the couch, and they sleep in the bed, and we love it. I mean, my boyfriend he called me the other night. His dog trainer's here in Georgia, but he's in Reno. So we're like all over the place all the time. It really is crazy when you get into the nitty gritty of what we live like. He texts me, he's like, I'm crying. I'm like, you're crying? Why are you crying? I call him. I'm like, what is going on? Because it's like midnight there, and he's like, I just had to say bye to Axel. He's coming back to Georgia. So his dog is this rock star dog that lives in training because he's obtaining titles when he's not in hunting season. And he is like beside himself that his bestest little buddy's having to go back to bird dog camp, and I'm like, this is awesome. Like there's just so much purpose and so much emotion and feeling tied into who we are. And
guess what? it's amazing because it's bigger than just sitting on the couch worrying about why you're bored. Why do I feel sad? Why am I unhappy? Why am I not fulfilled? Like, no, get out and do something about it. Go do something outside of yourself. Start thinking about something. Get a dog. Start thinking about something that's not you.
Change your life.
You know, start thinking about other people. Get out in your community and volunteer. Start
Giving
thinking about
back
the people. Yeah, give back.
Way to heal.
Get out of yourself. Stop looking in and go.
Yes, like giving back is the best way to heal. It is.
Yep.
And that's what I found because I didn't have a choice at that time. I had to give shooting instruction to be able to stay at the clay course all day long and shoot, right? Like I had to figure all that out. And that may be where the healing was. I was able to break down why I was doing the things that was disappointing myself while I was in my own session. But it was through the giving back is where the actual healing took place. And I'm still there. I mean, I don't know. It's just part of a journey. Like, you're all, you never arrive. That's what I tell my kids. I'm like, oh, this whole thing, you graduate college, you get your dream job. So that is total BS. And I always told JC too, I'm like, I want you to grow up, become an attorney, and I want you to sue Disney because they created this stupid thing called Cinderella and they have misled every single little girl in the world because that's never going to happen. That is not reality. Yeah. And so it's so funny now. And she's like, I don't even want a boyfriend because I'm living my best life in a different city every semester. But when you have that type of confidence where you love yourself, like it just changes perspective of life. I wanted to talk about shooting. We didn't talk nothing about shooting. We're going to have a part 2. You have to come on mine when we talk all about shooting.
Part 2. Well, I can't come on yours and talk about shooting. I don't know how to shoot.
We got to get you shooting.
I think I've shot a gun once in my life. And I will tell you that off the air. It cannot be done on the air.
Well, I will tell you, there's all kinds of fun target shooting, and I love doing that with my kids. And I'm telling you, whether we're shooting BB guns or just little 22s, plinking little metal targets in the backyard or something like that. But I was raised in a family of lots of competition, and it's just fun. We just have a lot of fun, and that's just been our thing, and I think it's empowering. So. Anybody
I'm doing it. Well, don't you worry. I'm doing it. After that, I was supposed to do it a lot sooner, but life's happening. But since I did that Amy Robbins episode, and I'm like, I'm doing it. I bought a little pair of her shorts.
Different, purpose. And that was the thing. Like, when I started, I don't know, just because of the way I was raised. I took my grandmother's 85 now, but at 83, I took her deer hunting with my friends. She shot a 6-point buck at 83 years old. My granny did. Yes. And she is prim and proper as they come. She drinks her tea and she's got all of her stuff, and it's, she's like, I want to go hunting one more time. Pawpaw would be so proud of me if I went hunting one more time. I was like, okay, Granny, well, I'll set that up. So I'm like calling in every favor I can. I was like, my granny needs a buck.
That's adorable.
But that was the family that I was raised in. So there's so much tradition and all the things of the outdoors that we didn't even touch on. But I do love it. You have motivated me. I wanted to reach out to you just because you've created exactly what I've envisioned that doesn't exist in my space. And I was like, I fought it for so many reasons that it kind of takes me off of where I was going. And it was a detour, and it was a detour that I didn't want, but it was like God kept throwing people in my life, like all these powerhouse women that I was adored. And I'm like, oh, here we go. I've got another event, tag teaming with another female. And I'm like, I can't ignore this. These are all purposeful signs guiding me into the next season of life.
I love it. That's how I feel too. I love it. I'm with you.
Thank you so much for spending time with me. And
thank you. Thank you for jumping on here and being so willing to just I'll come on. Yeah, we can cancel. Yeah, we can. You're so good to me. Thank you. I appreciate your time, and we'll talk again soon.
And our friendship too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, girl.